When we think about anxiety, many of us imagine agitation or upset, racing thoughts, restlessness, a body that feels keyed up and unable to settle. And we talked about that in the previous video. But there is another form of anxiety that looks almost like the opposite. And because it doesn't match the stereotype, it often goes unnoticed or gets mislabeled. This is anxiety that shows up as heaviness, fog, procrastination, numbness, or a sense of being stuck. People in this state don't feel wired. They feel drained but uneasy. It's hard to initiate. It's hard to decide. It's hard to feel motivated, even when they care about what's in front of them. All right, before I go further, I want to pause for one quick point because it matters here. Anxiety doesn't always mean too much activation. Sometimes it means not enough. And if you want to understand which way your nervous system tends to organize under pressure and activation, whether it runs hot, goes flat, or oscillates, there's a short Somatic Skins assessment linked below in the description. It's not advice and it's not a label. If you take that quiz and come back to this video, it'll give you an orientation so that you're not just trying to calm down a system that actually needs more charge, but you're hearing these videos in a way that can be personally useful for you. Okay, let's talk about what underactivation actually is. Underactivation happens when the nervous system can't produce enough energy to meet the demands of the moment. That doesn't mean that the system or the person doesn't care. It means that they can't mobilize it. They can't access it. Their intention is there, likely quite sincerely, but follow through feels distant. Desire exists, but it isn't being translated into action. People often describe this feeling like they're moving through molasses or everything takes more effort than it should. Their breath is shallow or flat, their posture subtly rounds, their attention drifts, not because they're distracted by too much in reality, but because there isn't actually enough signal to hold in its place. What's confusing in this pattern is that it often gets mislabeled, self-labeled as depression, laziness, lack of confidence, or lack of discipline. And while those labels might describe the surface experience, they miss the underlying dynamic. Underactivation anxiety isn't the absence of concern or care. It's the absence of sufficient charge. The nervous system still detects demand. It will still register pressure, responsibility, or expectation, but it doesn't have the energy internally to respond cleanly. So instead of mobilizing, the system hesitates. Instead of acting, it stalls. That mismatch between demand and capacity is what creates anxiety in this pattern. It's a quiet anxiety, but it's real. Psychologically, this often shows up as avoidance, indecision, or chronic procrastination. People tell themselves that they just need to try harder, they need to get inspired, they need to find the right motivation. But inspiration even demands energy. And so the system doesn't have that either. And so the gap widens. This is also why advice that works for overactivated anxiety can make underactivation worse. Telling someone in this pattern to slow down, to connect, to relax, or let go, it doesn't bring relief. It deepens their collapse. The system isn't over revving, it's already underpowered. And so what helps here isn't calming breaths. It's activation, but not in a chronic or an overwhelming way. The goal is to increase charge gradually. in a way that the system can actually sustain. That often starts with structure. When the body stacks and organizes against gravity, energy can then begin to circulate again. Load-bearing positions, clear posture, and breath pressure give the nervous system something to work with. From there, controlled activation matters. Not big bursts of motivation, but small, repeatable signals that teach the system it can mobilize without burnout. Tempo becomes important. So does rhythm. So does completion. As charge increases again, attention starts to stabilize. The fog lifts, not because you forced clarity, but because the system finally has enough energy to focus. Decisions feel less overwhelming. Movements feel more accessible. And anxiety softens, not by disappearing, but becoming workable energy again. One of the most relieving moments for people in this pattern is realizing that nothing was wrong with them. They weren't unmotivated, they weren't doing the wrong things, they weren't broken, and they weren't failing at self-regulation. Their nervous system simply didn't have enough charge to meet the world it was in. And once that's addressed, a lot of secondary shame falls away. In the next video, we're going to talk about a third anxiety pattern that sits between overactivation and underactivation, the one where anxiety shows up as looping thought, hyperanalysis, and mental control. This is the pattern where people try to regulate their anxiety with insight, and they end up stacked in their head. This one is extremely common, especially among intelligent, reflective, high-capacity humans. If you want to understand which anxiety pattern your nervous system tends to default to, remember to take the Somatic Skins assessment linked below in the description. And if you already know that you want guided support, rebuilding capacity in the correct sequence, this is exactly the work that we're doing inside of the Prestige, especially this season. So apply and experience the impact for yourself. If you've made it this far in the series, I hope you're enjoying it as much as I am in sharing it with you. Please do like and subscribe. It helps the channel out, and I'll see you next time.